Bella, I'm so happy that you are a tea person. What kind of tea are you drinking?
Chamomile.
Chamomile? So why chamomile?
Because it helps me sleep and it's like very calming, and I don't know, I'm also just really picky.
Okay.
I don't know.
Listen, I'm glad that you are a tea person and not a coffee person, because I'm a tea person too.
You're a mate person.
And this is mate. So that's kind of what it looks like before I start drinking it, you know?
Kind of looks like herbs, like those dried up herbs.
Yeah,
that
it's
you
like
get,
a natural herb, you know? It's so cool. But I like mate because it does the opposite of chamomile, which it wakes you up. I remember when I first got here to Miami, you went up to the class, right, where we were having like the high schoolers were meeting up, and you're like, hey, come down.
Yeah.
And I came down, and there was like this lunch, right? And that's the first memory I have of you. To me, at that point, you didn't seem very involved, but as I got to know you, I saw that, or you told me that you were involved in, you know, a number of things.
Yeah.
One of those being
United Nations.
Yes,
Model.
Yes, Model UN. What is that? Tell me a little bit about that.
So basically, you know, like of the UN and how they get together to discuss certain problems. So we do the exact same thing, except it's not like actually real. It's just like it's just a model. And so we all dress up as like delegates, and we get assigned certain countries to represent different organizations. Like for example, I have a conference this weekend, and I'm coming from technically the European Union, and I'm representing Spain, and then we have to talk about the Syrian refugee crisis. So you write like a little paper explaining your position, how it's affecting your country, and then throughout the meeting, the whole point is to try to create solutions. Well, they call them resolutions, and you're supposed to try to draft a resolution that can help solve the problem.
Okay.
And when I did it last year, when you're one of the writers of the resolution, it looks much better on you, and you get like a better chance of getting awards and stuff. So it was me and a friend of mine that did it, and we drafted our resolution together with a bunch of other allies, and then people were voting, and like we made a bunch of friends with everybody. So everybody was voting for our resolution, and then it passed, and then at the end we got awards and things like that. So it was cool.
Okay, I like that. So you're kind of like acting as an ambassador for
a country, pretty much.
What's good, what's like in the best interest of that country. And so as an ambassador for Spain, or as an ambassador?
Last year I was France.
Last year you were France. And so do tensions kind of rise sometimes?
Yeah, like especially when you have to represent a point of view that you actually don't believe in as a person. Like I'm lucky that both of the times I've done Model UN, like the beliefs line up with something that I would agree with.
Okay.
Like there was this one kid, I think his name was Delano or something, and he represented India last year, and he was just like so hardcore, like no one liked him, but it wasn't his fault. It was just how he had to represent India.
Yeah. And
I think some people made enemies. There was this one girl, she was representing, I don't remember what she was, the US I think, and she was like coming after everyone. She was like, if you don't vote for me, like you'll regret it, things like that. Or like she'd be like, don't vote for this person, like that's a stupid resolution. And then in the end, nobody voted for her resolution, and she got upset with everyone. But it's all about making friends, like allies.
Okay. And so, I like that you mentioned that it's all about making friends, it's all about making allies. Why are allies so important, at least when it comes to Model UN?
Well, allies are important because if you don't have friends with other countries, no one's going to want to pitch in your idea. No one's going to want to hear what you have to say, or think, hey, this is a good idea, let me support this, or back it up, or let me vote for it.
Right.
So it's good to make friends with everybody in the room and be nice, even if someone you just really dislike is, you know, whatever, like representing some opinion that you just completely disagree with,
right.
Whether they agree with it or not. But it's always good to make friends and allies with the people in the room, because it helps you in the end.
Right, of course. And especially if you need something passed, every ally kind of has like a vote. Right?
Yeah.
That's so cool. I love that you mentioned that. And so let me ask you, does your background as a Christian kind of affect the way that you go about in Model UN, or do you see some principles in Christianity like in the, what you're involved in as Mara UN in school, how do those things kind of like overlap maybe?
Well, for me, I think being a Christian, like, it kind of gives me more of a reason to, like, not be nicer to people, but like to understand making allies is like the point. Like how a few kids were trying to like scare people into like siding with them. Like, no, I was just really nice and friendly. I was like, hey, like, what's your name? Like, I got to know them first. Like, first of all, some of the other countries were like, yo, your country is, and the person was like, oh, like China, and she was like, okay, if you don't vote for me, then blah blah blah. And me, I was like, hey, what's your name? Oh, nice to meet you. I'm Bella. I'm representing France. Do you want to hear a little bit about my idea for a resolution, and maybe you could partner up with me and we could write it together, things like that. And I think you only have a specific number of people that can help write the resolution. It's like 5 or 6, and we made like closer friends with a few other countries like Belgium and Vietnam and things like that.
Yeah. So
they helped us write it as well. So it looks good on them and it looks good on us, and you end up making a few friends from
it. Yeah, no, that's awesome. And you really see that comparison when you relate it to church and being a Christian and having to go out into the community, because most often we look at people and I'm like, oh, you're wearing a Trinity School, oh man, you're probably like this certain way, or you have this certain privilege or whatever. People automatically assume something about you based on either the flag that you're wearing or that you're waving. And I love that you mentioned that, because what it's about is really not stereotyping the person per se, but actually getting to know them at a personal level and being like, hey, what is your name? And beginning from there, from the very bottom. And typically we say, hey, I'm a Christian, you're not, you need Jesus. I know what you need, and if you don't have it, then things are going to go sour for you. And so I really love the fact that you're mentioning this whole thing about allies and how it's important to get to know people in order for them to become your allies. It's not just like, hey, it wasn't Spain, it was France. I'm France, and you need my help, or you need me to sign off on your petition. And so I really like that. I know that you're up to something else though. You're allying also with family, right? And so what's that about? Tell me a little bit about that.
So basically, my cousin and I started a little baking business.
Okay.
And
what's your cousin's name?
Bianca.
Shout out to Bianca. All right.
She's the one that's my age, because I have 3 cousins: Brianna, Bianca, and Tristan. Brianna's in college, Tristan's in middle school, Bianca's my age, and in the same grade as me. So basically, my aunt, and me and my cousins, we love to bake. It's a lot of fun. And my aunt, whenever she makes cookies, we all get excited. And every time I would go to Haiti, I would always look forward to my aunt's chocolate chip cookies.
Okay.
They were so good.
Were those the ones that you made for?
Yes.
Appreciation?
We made chocolate chip and then Nutella stuff, like
okay. It was really good.
Thank you. And so my aunt thought about it, and she was like, hey, since we're in a pandemic and stuff, you and Bianca should do something with baking. And then Bianca and I were like, oh yeah, that's a good idea. Not only will it look good for college, but maybe we can give it to some sort of charity, and we can people can buy really delicious goodies that we love when my aunt makes. So then we came up with the idea, and we kind of thought about it. Didn't really do much. We thought about it for a month or 2, and then I was like, okay guys, when are we making the Instagram? So we came up with a name, and then I started advertising it to a few of my friends. Obviously, we haven't we're not at the top yet, but it's a little business, and it's going pretty well, I think, for just starting a few weeks
side
ago.
Hustle.
Yeah, a side hustle. And so all the proceeds that we get go to Haiti. Because my aunt is on the board of a few charities up there, like St. Vincent's, and there are a few others. I don't know their names 100%. But basically, a lot of them are orphanages or places for, kids that are disabled and things like that. So all the proceeds that we get, because my aunt has to go up to Haiti every month for her job, because they're here now, one, because of pandemic, and there's a lot of issues in Haiti, so it's just safer for them here. Right. So my aunt has to go up once a month for her job and stuff. So when she goes, she would be giving them. She would go to the charities herself and give them the money.
Wow.
So, yeah.
That's really cool. And so, like, have you learned any lessons about,
I learned a lot about math and business because my mom, like, when I was coming up with like certain like ratios, like, oh, this for this or that for that, my mom was like, no, that's wrong. Do it again. No, that's wrong. You're not gonna make any money. No, that's wrong. That's too expensive.
Shout out to parents out there.
Yeah,
right?
to my mom. And I just learned a lot about that, and I learned like a lot about time actually, because my aunt would be like, okay, we got to start the next batch. We're out of this batch, and I'm like, but there's no time, like things like that. So
wow, that's really cool. And so it seemed like you were starting like a project, just to be like, hey, I need to fill up my time because of COVID, and I want to do something fun, but it's also good for people. And so you partnered up with your cousin, and then it turned out that there's also a lot of pressure involved. Yeah. And I think just to kind of connect that, I guess, to church. I'm hearing your story, Bella, and I think that many times we view Christianity that way, that it seems so easy to follow Jesus, and we're gonna get all this blessing, we're gonna have so much fun, right? We're gonna get dipped in the water, but then serious things happen to us, and all of a sudden maybe it's not so fun, right? And maybe we are under pressure, under duress, and maybe we are doing things a little bit wrong, right? And we need some correction. But I think that in the end, and correct me if I'm wrong, what might be powering you through that process is knowing that you're going to be benefiting these people in Haiti that ultimately count on you.
Yeah.
Right. And so, if we were to view Christianity that way, what would Miami Temple look like?
Well, I think we would be like more united, and a lot of people would focus on trying to like make disciples out of others, like to be fishers of men, I guess.
Okay.
And I think that because if you know the Word of God and you know that it can save someone, like why aren't you going to tell them about it? Like even though our lives as Christians, like some people may think like, oh, they're Christian, like they think they're better than everyone else and everybody else is going to hell. Like some people give us a bad rep because they act like that, but other people are genuinely just trying to spread the Word of God in like a positive way and things like that. And I think that it's really important because some people already have such a negative view of us that we just need to try our best. Like, like we're Christian, like we don't have it easy. If anything, we may have it harder because it says like if you love God, you'll be hated by the world because God is hated by the world. Yeah. So obviously at first, like when people are like, because when you're a Christian, you get a lot of more joy and you're happier in like little things, but that doesn't mean you don't get any bad circumstances that come to you. That doesn't mean that, like trauma, no, we don't have that, I'm Christian. Disease, no, we don't have that, I'm Christian. Like, no, you still get...
What is COVID?
Yeah, like what is COVID? I'm Christian. No, like you still get a lot of trials and things like thrown at you, but you just need to be able to use those and minister to other people so that maybe you can help them get closer to being saved.
Yeah, man, I really appreciate that because in a way, your alliance to other Christians, or maybe your alliance even to God, is kind of like what gets you through those tough situations, and being able to say, I'm an ally for a true cause, for a purpose that's bigger than myself. Baking cookies, it's fun, but it's bigger than myself now because I know that it's for a cause, it's for people that are in need. And so, wow, man, that's a sermon right there, Bella. I really appreciate what you had to say. You haven't drank any of your tea.
Because it's hot. I'm taking but I'm talking a lot because I talk a lot. So it's like I don't have time to. Hold on.
Yeah. No, that's really good for me because I don't really like to talk a lot, and so I take my mate everywhere, and people are like, "Oh, he's so into mate." But half the time that I have my mate, it's just because I know that if I'm drinking mate, I won't have to speak. It's like if you're in the youth group and one of the young people asks you like a really tough question, and you just kind of go like, I'm listening, and it's like, all right, let me process your question and come up with something to say.
Come back to me. Let me drink my mate.
Yeah, I just have a quick prayer as I'm drinking my mate, and hopefully,
the thought comes to you.
Yeah. Either Jesus inspires me or inspires them, and it's like, hey, you know what? I don't have that question anymore, and then I stop sweating.
Let me take it back. I'll take it back.